She went on to schedule the appointment. She got her tox. And then when I did her follow-up 2 weeks later, she came in just glowing. She was radiant, was so happy with her results. And now she is a lifetime customer.
Welcome to the Beauty Talk podcast, where we feature how the best medical practitioners help their patients to look better, younger, and healthier. Now, enjoy the show, and here's your host.
Daniel Gao here. I'm the host of Beauty Talk, where we feature the top medical practitioners in health and beauty, both inside and out. I have Elsie Barbosa, the founder of The Glow Lab. With over 2 decades of experience in nursing, Elsie is a seasoned healthcare professional dedicated to helping others feel confident, healthy, and empowered. She earned her Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from Wilmington University and began her career as a registered nurse in 2003. In addition to her clinical work, Elsie shares her knowledge as a part-time instructor at a local technical college. Now, Elsie has started The Glow Lab, a med spa rooted in science, artistry, and personalized care. Elsie's philosophy is simple yet powerful: to deliver individualized care that enhances each client's unique features while promoting self-confidence and well-being. So, Elsie, welcome and glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, let's dive right into it, Elsie. How did you first get interested in medicine?
So from a very young age, I was always interested in nursing. I didn't even realize how versatile nursing could be. And when I started to become an aesthetics patient myself, and I realized that the person that was injecting me was a nurse, I was like, wow, this is a whole new avenue that I want to explore. And most of my nursing career was spent in acute care nursing at the bedside with the patient. But over time, I realized that healing wasn't just physical, it's also aesthetic and emotional. So with the Glow Lab, I want to empower my clients. I want them to feel good in their skin, not just healthier, but more confident.
Got it. And what was that transition from when you were in medicine, but then you wanted to get into aesthetics? You kind of talked about you were an aesthetics client yourself, but then what led you to be like, okay, now I want to do aesthetics as the provider side?
So that's a good question. I love that being a nurse injector, that I can combine my clinical expertise with artistry. And so what I love about being a nurse injector and what that process was like for me transitioning from the medical side to the aesthetic side was it really allowed me to combine my clinical expertise with my artistic vision, and to really collaborate with clients and bring their goals to life.
Okay. Now that you have the Glow Lab, I mean, what are some of the most common treatments that your patients come to you for, that your clients come to you for? What are the most common ones?
Sure. So the most common would be tox and filler. Those are the most common. I'm also looking to add in microneedling, which is very popular right now. So that's coming in the next 2 weeks, as well as microblading. So lots of exciting things going on at the Glow Lab.
Awesome. So when it comes to tox, I want to make this differentiation. I think that some people who have been getting aesthetic procedures done for some time, this may seem like a very simple question, but I think for some people, or maybe it's their first time, they don't understand necessarily the difference between Botox and filler. So would you mind just explaining a little bit, like what's the main differences? When would you use one versus another one?
Absolutely. So Botox is used to really relax your muscle. It relaxes the muscle so that your wrinkles relax. It smooths out your skin's appearance. Filler is more for lips. When people say, I've really lost the collagen in my lips and I want a more pronounced look, or the cheeks, that's when we would use filler. Now, it is a common misconception that a very common procedure, the lip flip, most people think that is done with filler, but it's actually done with Botox.
Okay. So if lip flip is done by Botox, and I guess through that logic, it's more to smooth out the wrinkles or the fine lines on the lips. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so what it does is it relaxes your muscle above your top lip and allows for your lip to be more natural and settle down, come more over the gum line. It's really for individuals who maybe have a gummy, what we call a gummy smile. So when they're smiling, we're seeing a lot of gum. So it really drops that lip down to a very natural position.
Okay. Now with Botox, my impression of it is that it's mostly used to kind of like freeze certain areas of the face. is it more accurate to say it freezes it, or is it more accurate to say that it relaxes it to smooth out the wrinkles? Or is it kind of the same thing? I'm just
It really,
up in here.
so it could be either or. There's some clients that want that frozen look. I find I prefer to do a more natural look. Frozen means you can't raise your eyebrows, you lose your natural expressions. So people don't know if you're winking, smiling, if you're angry, happy. So I prefer to really relax the muscle without freezing it to allow it to still have the ability to show emotions.
Okay. And so what is that
Get
difference
really
between
great results.
Okay. And so how do you differentiate between freezing it and relaxing? Because they're both, you're using Botox for both situations, right? Is it just a matter of more or there's a different way of how you apply it?
Exactly. So in the clients that really want that frozen look, and that's usually people who've been getting Botox for a long time and they're accustomed to that look and they want to stick with it, they would just need a higher dose,
Okay. So if they have a high dose, then that does more of the freezing. If it's a lower dose, that's a little bit more of the relaxing
more
side.
natural, smooths out the wrinkles and fine lines, but still allows you to have movement of your face.
Got it. And you kind of mentioned that the freezing you don't see as much. I've talked to and interviewed practitioners from all over the country, and it seems like there's more of this trend going in the direction of people looking for more of that natural look. They don't want the overdone or the done up. Is that kind of what you're seeing in your practice as well?
Absolutely. I think gone are the days of people wanting the overfilled lips or the overfilled cheeks. They really just they want it to be done without looking overdone. And that's my goal here. And I will have a consult with a patient. We'll have a nice conversation. I pride myself on educating the patient so they can make their decisions. But if I ultimately feel like something is just not right, if they're asking for too much filler and it's not safe for them or it's not going to come out right, then we have that conversation. It's a tough conversation to have, but we have that conversation.
Yeah. Do you ever get people coming in that have like Instagram photos that are heavily doctored and like, oh, I want to look just like this?
Yes, and sometimes it leads to unrealistic expectations because what they're seeing on Instagram or TikTok, there are people that have had 3 or 4 syringes of filler in their lip, right? So when they come in and they get one syringe of filler, they might be a little discouraged at first, thinking, well, it doesn't look like this picture that I saw. But what they're not realizing is the celebrities and the TikTok and Instagram famous people, they're getting multiple syringes.
Okay. And is getting multiple syringes typically something that you would recommend, or is it really going to be on a case by case, depending on what they want to look like?
Yeah, it really is a case by case basis. The only thing about getting multiple syringes is it can be costly,
Okay.
but it depends on where you're getting it. One syringe in the lips is probably sufficient to have a nice natural looking lip. The cheeks, you're going to need at least 2 syringes. You're going to need one for each side of your face to balance it out.
Mhm.
So it really just depends.
Okay, got it. Now, are should consumers really be concerned about the quality of what you are putting into their face? Like checking, make sure, hey, are these coming from good sources? Because I mean, there's horror stories out there, people going and getting this done in somebody's backyard, and they're buying this off of Amazon or Temu or whoever knows where they're getting it from. So, what can you talk a little bit more about like what people should be aware of when it comes to the actual product itself?
Absolutely. That's a great question because I recently encountered this when I was actually going through my nurse injector training. There was someone else that was there learning, and she had been purchasing some type of tox from online and injecting her friend's face. First of all, I didn't even know this stuff was available out there without a medical provider's order. I'm not sure how she was getting it, but it is so, so important to make sure that you are getting a product that's cleared by the FDA, that your practitioner has been trained for that particular product, that they're following all their state's policies and protocols. Like, for instance, in my state of Delaware, we have to have good faith exams. So every patient that I see has a visit with either a nurse practitioner or a doctor, and then they clear them for the medication. And then I will proceed with talking to them about the treatment and actually doing the injection.
Okay. So what are the potential dangers? Like what could potentially happen if somebody goes to a practitioner, they're not using the certified product or they're getting it from somewhere else and you can't verify that it's actually a good product. Like what's the dangers of that?
So, well, one of the more minor dangers would be that the product just doesn't work, right? They don't get the desired result. One major complication that we worry about as healthcare professionals is infection, making sure that they are following all aseptic technique, that the product has been manufactured properly in a pharmacy where, clean measures were taken. So infection is a big one that I would worry about. Also, they could have an adverse reaction, like a vascular occlusion. Depending on what medication is being used, they can have an eyelid droop or what we call a Spock brow. So I think infection would be number one, our main concern, but then also having some less than desired results.
Okay. And so what would be some of your top piece of advice you would give to someone who's looking to get some type of aesthetic treatment done or procedure done, but they don't know who to go to? Like, what are the main questions or the main things that they should be looking at?
Oh, absolutely. They should definitely first start with a consultation. Most places will offer a free consultation, or if it's not free, they will apply the consultation price to your first treatment. Down with that provider, ask them where did they get their training from? What is their background? You really want a provider who's going to listen to you, that's going to educate you on what products they're using, and really prioritizes safety. And I think that as a new client, if I was going in, I would just want to make sure that I'm focusing that the goal is really enhancement. It's not transformation. We're not trying to give you a full face makeover. It's really just enhancing that natural beauty.
Okay. And so anything else I think to be aware of, like we talked a little bit about the product, like trying to make sure that the providers getting in the top level, or at least the certified product. But is there anything else that they need to kind of be aware of?
Sure. I would also, now knowing what I know in this field, I would ask to see where they're storing the product.
Mhm.
Is it being stored correctly? Have they reconstituted? And because most tox comes to us in a powdered form, have they reconstituted it and has it been sitting out or has it been in the refrigerator for a week? Most tox you really need to use within 24 hours after reconstituting it. Some people stretch that out because tox is expensive and they don't want to waste it. But when you do that, you run that risk of infection again.
Mm.
So those are questions I would ask. I would make sure that my tox or filler has not been sitting around in a syringe that's been saved from 10 clients ago.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the educational part of it, how do you approach educating your patients, educating your clients on really the benefits or trying to make decisions? Like, oh, they're like, oh, I'm thinking about this or this, which one is the best one? Like, how do you approach that education side for people who really have no idea, like, what's the right way and the wrong way to do this?
Absolutely. And plus they get a lot of ideas from online, right? So they think that they should be able to come in and get 3 syringes of filler in their lips all in one sitting. That's not always feasible. So I just sit down and have the conversation. I say, these are the risks, especially with filler. You could get a vascular occlusion, which means that we cut off blood flow to your lip, which means that your lip would then become necrotic. It would turn black, just like if you were out in the snow with no shoes or socks on and you got frostbite on your toes, you could lose your toes, you could lose your lip the same way if we occlude the vascular flow to your lips. So I try to break it down and explain it that way, so that they understand I'm not just being mean. It's not that I don't want to give you those 3 syringes of filler, because I certainly do, but we're going to do it in baby steps. We're going to do it safely, and that way you have the desired outcome.
Okay. And I'm sure that you have people coming to you that have these misconceptions. We kind of talked a little bit about the misconceptions a little while ago, but what would you say are some of the most common myths that you hear from patients, clients that are coming in?
The most common one that I hear is kind of what we've already talked about a little bit, being overdone or frozen. I've had several people say, I really would be interested in Botox, but I don't want to be paralyzed.
Mm.
They think that their whole face is going to be paralyzed, which isn't the case. I always tell them I'm going to start slow. I'm going to use the lowest doses possible, bring you back in 2 weeks, and then we'll evaluate. If you need more, we could always add more. But if we put too much, that's when you get that overdone, frozen look.
Okay. Now, in your introduction, or even in the beginning, you're talking a lot about like you started off the Glow Lab because of the artistic point of it. And so I think artistry is not something that people really think about when it comes to medicine. But then with aesthetics, I think that artistry plays a very, very big role. And I mean, you even brought it up, where it's like it's an important part of it. So why do you think that artistry is so important when it comes to aesthetic medicine?
Oh, it's so important because most nurses, most of us can inject and would have no problem with that at all. We learn that day one in nursing school. But when it comes to aesthetic medicine, you really want to make sure that you're giving your client the desired outcome that they want. You're working on balancing out features for them. If they have an uneven lip, or if they have one eyebrow that arches higher and they kind of want to even things out, you've really got to step back, evaluate that client, and try to get them the outcome that they're looking for.
Okay. And do you think that if you were comparing two providers, one that skill set wise, a really good skill set, but didn't have that artistic eye, and the other one, their skill set was okay, but they had a really, really good eye for artistry, which one do you think would actually have a better outcome in general?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the one who has the artistic eye
Hmm.
would have a better outcome. And actually, in this industry, we've seen people who, so there's a lot of nurses that go on to be nurse injectors, right? But there's also a lot of hairstylists that go on to be injectors. They go back to school for nursing just so they can work in aesthetics. And they tend to do far better because they have that artistic background.
Interesting. Now, when it comes to the artistic part of that, is that something that like a consumer can figure out when they're talking to a provider, or like what's kind of the telltale signs that, oh, this person really has that good artistic eye and I feel like they can really customize something based on what I'm looking for?
Absolutely. I feel like they would be able to tell just having that consultation with the provider, listening to what recommendations they're making. As much as we try to listen to the client, if I feel like the client's telling me I want a full syringe of filler on one side and a half a syringe on the other, and I don't feel like that's going to give them a balanced look, that's when we're going to have that artistic conversation and really talk about what our goals are. And certainly the client would be able to tell at that point, like, okay, they have my best interest at heart. They're trying to balance me out and give me good advice.
Okay. Now, we talked a little bit about like the whole social media thing, people coming in with these very unrealistic expectations. Do you feel like social media has overall been a positive benefit on the industry because you're able to share a lot more, you're able to put out before and afters, you're able to get the word out a lot more and just grow the industry? Or do you think it has been a net negative because of the unrealistic expectations that people are putting out there? Like whether they're just putting like three syringes into their lips, or if they're using a filter, or they're using whatever they are. So it's like, this is not real. Like, what do you think about social media?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It really is. It certainly does drive business in. Love social media for that reason and getting the word out there. But it does give some misconceptions, and that's usually probably about 80% of the time the conversations that I have to have is not everything you see is real. People are using filters. They're not telling you the whole story that it took them a year to get to that look, that they had repetitive visits to their spa. So for that reason, it really is a double-edged sword. I have to say that I like social media. Yeah, I think it is great, but it does give those unrealistic expectations.
So it's just a balance. Once they come in, you just have to work more on setting the realistic expectations for them.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, Elsie, I'm sure that you've, throughout your experience, you've had some particularly challenging cases that have come in through your door. Is there maybe one story that you can think of just like a tough case or even just a memorable one, and how you were able to get them a good outcome in the end?
So this one, it was more of a memorable one. I had a woman who was in her early 40s who came in. She was feeling like her wrinkles were starting to show more after turning 40. She was really worried about her appearance. She felt like she looked tired, but she had a wall up against Botox. Because she had heard horror stories, thought that her face would look frozen, paralyzed, like she wouldn't be able to drink through a straw. So we sat down for a good hour at that consultation and went over everything. I showed her a lot of before and after pictures, even talked about my own experiences with being injected. And I really built her confidence, and she went on to schedule the appointment. She got her tox, and then when I did her follow-up 2 weeks later, she came in just glowing. She was radiant, was so happy with her results, and now she is a lifetime customer, and she's actually referred a couple of people to the Glow Lab. So
Okay. So it sounds like it's just a matter of getting over that initial fear of, hey, this can actually help you. It's just resetting that expectation or that myth. It's like, oh, I think it's going to do this when that's largely not the case, or that's a very extreme case.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, Elsie, I'm curious, where do you think the future of aesthetics is going?
I feel like the future is going to more natural remedies like the microneedling, as opposed to Botox. I think people are always going to get Botox and filler, but I think our younger population is trying to do more preventative things now to prevent them from needing Botox. So they're starting to do the microneedling, which really it helps your skin to rejuvenate and build its own collagen. So it makes those fine lines or wrinkles less noticeable.
Okay. Now, I think it's been interesting. Like, I talked to practitioners all, again, all over the country, and it seems like many of them have a very young demographic. Of course, there's some that have kind of the older ones, but it seems like there's a growing sector of younger people looking for prevention. Not necessarily like want to look younger because they're already so young, but they're looking more for prevention. Is that kind of something that you're also seeing where a younger demographic is becoming more and more and more of your clientele?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're wanting to start younger, which is great. Prevention is key. So I love that. I'm excited to start with microneedling, like I said, in 2 weeks, because I feel like that's really the way the industry is going.
Mhm. And do you think that the rise in the younger age group wanting to do more prevention, do you think that social media has played a big part in that, like influence talking about it and then talking more about like the longevity of your skin and longevity of you looking younger long if you start now?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up in an era where we didn't even have a face routine at night. You know, we wash our face with a bar of soap. Now I'm seeing young 10-year-olds with a whole face routine with the washing and moisturizing and the day cream and the night cream. So I feel like it's a lot of the social media influence.
Okay. Now, I want to dive a little bit deeper into your practice, the Glow Lab. What's your vision for the Glow Lab?
My vision would be I just want to keep expanding. I really pride myself on continued education. I try to attend seminars whenever I can, training workshops, network with other providers, try to really stay up to date on any research of what's going on in the industry. So I want to continue to expand. Like I said, microneedling's coming, microblading is coming, but I definitely would like to, in the near future, get into having laser treatments as well
Okay.
to help with things like spider veins, stretch marks, laser hair removal. So that is my goal. I want to keep expanding, keep learning, stay up to date on all the new things going on, and keep offering those to my clients.
Now, we did talk about how you made that switch into aesthetics, but what was it that caused you to want to start your own practice versus just going to work for another practice?
So that's a very good question because I'm not normally a very adventurous person. So it took a lot for me to take that jump, but it was something about just my passion for the aesthetic industry and that there are a lot of spas out there that aren't doing things the correct way. And I wanted to set myself apart from those by having all the policies and procedures, having my medical director that I meet with weekly, making sure I'm following all my state guidelines. So when I really looked into it and I saw that a lot of the spas were not up and up and they weren't using the correct products or following the protocols that they should be, that's when I decided I was just going to do it myself.
Okay. Very well said. Now, Elsie, I do have one last question for you, but before I ask it, I do want to point people to your website at theglowlabde.com. Now, my last question for you, Elsie, is what does beauty mean to you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, Beauty means so many things because it's not just the outside, right? It's our confidence. And I feel like when patients come in or clients come in to get treatments, they're mainly focusing on what's on the outside. But that's why I like to have a conversation with them, talk to them, and figure out what's going on. Certainly, we want to boost confidence by fixing the outside, but is there something else going on that's bothering them inside that we can certainly talk through? I just feel like when you feel beautiful, you glow.
Well, very well said, Elsie. And there you have it. Elsie sharing her expertise. Now, Elsie, where can people contact you and your practice?
Yes, so they can give me a call. I'm here in Dover, Delaware. My phone number is 302-406-3337.
Okay. Well, Elsie, this is a lot of fun. Great having you here on the show, and thanks for sharing your message.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Beauty Talk podcast. Any questions, please contact the practice directly with the contact information provided during the show. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.